Good morning and welcome to the AT Collective podcast brought to you by Capable Spaces. This morning, I'm very excited to have Amanda Hill with us today. Welcome, Amanda.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I am really excited to hear your stories today. The first time I met you, Amanda, I was at a business conference and I saw how amazing you were at using your computer and we'll tell the listeners why that was so amazing, because you are vision impaired but totally blind. Is that right?
That's correct.
So Amanda, I might get you to introduce yourself, because today we're going to learn about your world and how you overcome challenges and all the things that you can teach us as clinicians as to how to help other people as well. So Amanda, tell us a bit about you.
Sure. So I was born at 26 weeks in 1970, weighed 1 pound 9 ounces or 750 grams. I was one of twins. And so I've got retinopathy of prematurity, which caused total blindness. My twin sister didn't survive, but, at least I'm here to tell the story. I was apparently the fighter, the one who climbed up the side of my humidity crib and tried to pull my tubes out and all that sorts of things. So went to normal schools. I was the first one in the first group of blind and vision impaired people to be fully integrated into normal sided schools here in the ACT. My parents got together with other parents and they lobbied the government until they said, yes, you don't have to go interstate to go to a blind school. So that was great. So I've pretty much lived in a sighted world all my life. And I remember my father telling me, I went to, primary school, high school, university, studied law, commerce and law, graduated with honours in law, had a 17-year legal career, was made redundant in 2014. It's so nice to be able to not have to explain that on an Australian podcast. Because Americans say, oh, laid off. I was made redundant in 2014, retrained as a John C. Maxwell speaker, trainer and coach, and here I am today. So I remember my father always told me, in order to compete equally with your sighted peers, you have to be better and work hard, longer and stronger and everything. So that's always kind of been my my work ethic.
And I know a lot of the work that you've produced, including your amazing book, is about courage in amongst the challenges that you've been through. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, yes, my book, this book.
Yes.
It is about, well, it started off as a 85-page paperback. And it was a book I wrote in 2018 after I'd been working with a life coach. He helped me discover that my life purpose was to inspire and encourage others. I've been looking for my life's purpose since I was about 27, and I've never been able to find it until I was like 48. So I reverse engineered the process I went through and I wrote it in this little book. And then in 2020, I was going to write a book about courage when COVID hit, because I decided eventually that I wanted to live out my purpose as a motivational speaker. So I'd had some gigs lined up in 2020 and then COVID hit, destroyed that. And I thought, oh, I'll write a book about courage. And so I bumped into a book coach and he said, oh, no, don't do that. Rewrite your first book and make it bigger and better. So it's now a 250-page interactive hardcover book, which sort of weaves my life story into the process of how to discover your life's purpose. And it's got questions and places to write your answers. And so, yeah.
Excellent. So that's called Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight.
Correct.
What other platforms have you got that one on?
That is it's on Amazon, it's on Apple Books. It's you can buy it if you want a hard copy, you can buy it directly from my website, amandaheal.com.au. Very easy to remember. That's also my speaker site.
Yeah.
So that's my book. And chapter 6 is all about courage.
Yes.
I talk about trekking in Nepal, and I talk about overcoming my terrible crippling phobia of getting lost, which made me housebound. and, you know, what courage is and what it isn't. And I've decided to kind of expand on that and make that my topic for speaking. And I've in the process of reinventing myself from a corporate speaker to someone who inspires and empowers teenagers to unleash their courage and ignite their potential. So
that sounds, an amazing pivot, but it's not really a pivot as much as an extension of the other things that you've been working on.
Yeah.
To help teenagers in school. Is that right? Or
yes, I would like to do that. So if anyone knows any sort of programs or anything I can piggyback on, or has any like contacts in the high schools, I'd like to target years 9 and 10 students. Please do reach out.
Beautiful. Sounds great. Now, I would love to also just ask, just to get us started, something about you that not many people would know.
I used to be able to deadlift 1.5 times my body weight.
Well done.
Back in the days when I was 65 kilos, a bit heavier than that now. I don't know whether that ad always for Subway always amazes me when they say, oh, you know, the screen puts on 10 pounds, you know, I hope it doesn't.
Yes, yeah.
Not a deadlift 1.5, I think 100 kilos I lifted once.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, I enjoy lifting as well. It's a nice thing to be strong, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So how does technology help you in your everyday life then, Amanda?
Oh my gosh, I use it constantly, and I was shocked just to see how constantly, when we had a power failure last year, I was completely screwed for about 3 hours. I just had the little battery that was left in my phone, and which reminds me, I want to go off and buy a power bank. Technology, I use it for everything. My talking microwave helped me heat up my breakfast this morning. I checked the news and the headlines and the emails on my iPhone using VoiceOver. I use a Braille Sense Plus, which is a Braille note-taking device. And even though I'm completely, totally entrenched Apple person, this is my one Android device. And I use that because it has a Braille display and it also speaks. And so I've got everything from my the notes for the various talks that I give. I'm going to set that up so that I can run slide presentations from it. I've also got a whole stack of knitting patterns. I'm a passionate knitter, and everything else in between on there.
Just hang on. I don't understand this. How do you, I know this sounds naive, how do you knit and how do you follow a pattern to knit, Amanda? How does that work?
Well, it's the internet has been a game changer because there's so many free patterns on the internet, and most of them are still accessible. There are some graphs out there which haven't been converted into text, but most of them are accessible. So I just download it from the internet onto my Braille Sense or my phone and just read it row by row. My grandmother taught me to knit on needles when I was a child. And the only time I get stuck is when I drop a stitch, and then it's, Mom, can you come and pick up the stitch? I also love to crochet, and something that I now passionately do because my beautiful Chiagu knitting needles put holes in my reading finger, which causes problems, obviously. So I took up loom knitting. If anyone's ever knitted on a knitting Nancy, it's like when they're at school, like cotton reel with 4.
Yes.
Yeah. Knitting loom is like that on steroids. I've got enough loom to make up, I think it's 250 pegs.
Wow.
So I'm knitting a jumper or a cardigan for myself at the moment. And I knitted a shawl. I should have brought that in with me to the office. I knitted a shawl or a cape, which I won 3rd prize in the Canberra show.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so that's my...
And I remember one of the discussions we were having, you'd gone to the movies with some friends and I think you were knitting through the movies. Is that right?
I was, yes. Rayleigh still can't get her head around that. She said, oh, we're sitting in the dark and knitting. But what I didn't tell her was I'd actually made a mistake and I was actually unpicking, but you know.
we think you're amazing, Amanda. We do. And so tell us a bit more about Apple. I know you said you do love Apple, but you still can tolerate Android. So why is Apple helpful, or how is it Apple helpful to you?
Well, my first ever computer back in the 80s was an Apple IIe. And this old thing, it was this massive, great big thing. And it had two 5.25-inch floppy disks, one for the system and one for storing your stuff. The reason I used it was because it talked. Yes, you had to buy the two floppy disks, but you didn't have to buy anything else. Whereas when I graduated onto PCs, you had to buy a particular sound card. You had to pay for either Keynote Gold as it was back then, or JAWS as it was for a long, long time. I mean, now NVDA has changed the playing field a little bit, making things free, which is awesome. But and all through my legal career, we're on PCs all the time, and using JAWS, the screen reader, to draft legislation was my latest job. So I still think that's one of the best screen readers out there for the detail that it gives you. But then when I left work, I didn't want to pay the however many $1,000 for another SMA for JAWS, sort of an updated license agreement continuing thing. So I bit the bullet and I decided to convert to Apple. So I bought myself a Mac Mini.
Yes.
And I listened to this awesome podcast where someone literally took you through from how to turn on your Mac to how to do everything that it could do. And I learned how to use a Mac. And so I just love the way it just integrates so seamlessly. I can be like when I was writing my book, I'd be writing it in a program called Ulysses on the Mac. And then I'd go over to my mum's house and go, oh, brainwave, yes. And so I'd open Ulysses on my phone, type in the sentence where I had been before in the book, and it would just keep going. So just seamlessly swapping from phone to Mac and back. My home is controlled by Apple HomeKit. All my lights turn on and off, all my heating turns on and off. The garage door opens and shuts. It's all controlled through my phone.
Are you voice activating that, or you're focusing on using the apps? How do you focus?
Bit of both.
Yep.
I've got a bridge, so everything is controlled through the Enviro, I think it's called, bridge. So I can just say, hey, Siri, turn the lights on, or I can just open up the HomeKit. And actually, I remember when I first got my automated lights, I was at Mum's house and spending the weekend there. And my flatmate was home, and I turned on the app and thought, oh, she's got the kitchen lights on in the middle of the day. I wonder if I should mess with her head and turn them off.
Power.
How to actually open my phone and tell that lights are on or off is great, because I've lost what little light perception I have, or I've only got like a teeny bit now and I can only see sunlight. So I can't tell whether the lights are on or not. So Mum used to come over and go, oh, the light's on. It's like, oh, I wonder how many days that's been on. I don't have that problem now.
And do you have a security system then as well, or how do you know who's at the door other than talking to someone?
Yeah, I haven't set that up really, but I've sort of got a sort of non-electronic security system, as it were. My deck is completely, I hate insects, so my deck is completely surrounded by fly screens. So people don't tend to come to the front door unless they know me. They come to the door of the deck and they sort of go, hello, can we come in? And it's like, yes or no, go away or whatever. So yeah, I've got that slight barrier there, but one day I'll set up the security cameras.
Is there any kind of technology? I know you just said you've got so many different things that you use, but is there anything that you're most passionate about?
I'm passionate about technology being inbuilt from the get-go rather than being added on. I mean, and that's another reason I love Apple. You can turn on a Mac, you can press Command F4 and the Mac starts to talk. You don't have to buy anything extra. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to set anything up. It just goes. Same as the phone, you either triple click your home button or your power button, or you say, hey, Siri, turn voiceover on, and it works. So many years I've had to spend, like my first phone was a Nokia, and I had to spend another $300 on top of that phone to buy talks to make it talk. And so technology that's accessible for all, included from the ground up. I know Miele are building washing machines now that talk. I get very upset when I go to supermarkets and they've got those nasty FPOS machines which have the flat screens and they've got no buttons on them. And it's like, what the hell? And I know they do have an accessibility feature, but no one knows how to use it.
Oh, I have not even thought of that, Amanda.
Yeah.
So does that mean you have to go to the register, or what do you do?
Well, I either have to give someone my PIN number, or I have to pay on credit and hope that it's less than $150 and I don't have to enter in my PIN.
Yes.
Yeah. But I've only come across one of those so far, but I know they're out there, those terminals.
And you also, what are you hoping to see in future developments of assistive technology to help you live your best life? I know you've just said about a few of the devices, but you've said some things about touch screens. Yeah,
touch screens, accessible touch screens. You've no idea how hard it is to buy a washing machine, particularly front loader. They're all, you turn the dial and it just goes round and round and round, to infinity, and the display's changing, but the dial's not clicking, so you can't count the clicks or do anything like that. I'd like to see more integration with phone apps, and the phone apps to be accessible, so you can, say to your Roomba vacuum cleaner or your washing machine or your dryer or whatever, dry on this setting at this, better integration with Apple HomeKit for more devices, so you don't have to use a bridge. More power given to accessible to, Alexa and Google speakers and Apple HomePod speakers to control your home. Just putting technology accessibility in from the ground up when things are first made, rather than going, oh gosh, we have to now add on this module or install this extra software which doesn't work particularly well, or whatnot.
And I do enjoy using Apple, but I also enjoy using a lot of the features as well. And so I think that's where the commercialization of those accessibility features actually goes, hang on, if you can capture the whole market, it is commercially viable to add those additional features in, because
getting old, she's 90 and she can't always read screens. So if things would talk to her, or, even speaking to her hearing aids, that would be even better. She wouldn't have to read the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you go and talk to different groups, what is the message that you like to present on?
Courage. So I've got a 5-step methodology which spells out the word focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about different ways you can build and maintain courage. So I've just now made this more teenage friendly, and I even put it into a little poem that they can remember, which says, fix your eyes on the prize and your fear will have no space. Overcome what keeps you stuck and see your dreams fall into place. Connect with what you really want and not what's in your head. Upgrade your courage every day and leave your fears for dead. Success is putting courage into action.
That's beautiful, Amanda.
Thanks.
And I must say, you must have the most amazing memory. You're doing everything, like no prompts. I've got prompts sitting in front of me the whole time, and you're just so incredible how, like your dad said, you have to be better. So you've obviously worked really hard at being able to do all the things that you want to do.
Well, yeah, I guess I have. I mean, in speaker training, and I was shocked when I first heard this, but it's true. Every minute that you speak requires 1 hour of preparation. So, and it's true. I mean, that includes writing the talk and rehearsing it and going, oh no, that story is not flowing very well. I have to change those words. Or that poem I actually came up with on a cruise, the last cruise I went on, and it was going to be a rap, and it was an 80s themed cruise. And the song, hey, Nikki, you're so fine. You're
yes.
So Nikki. So I had that rhythm, and there's a fix your eyes on the prize and your fear will have no space. So every spare minute I got, I was just sitting there going, fix your eyes on the prize, until I'd sort of remembered it. And then someone very kind said to me, look, what's a 53-year-old woman wanting to say rap in front of a group of teenagers for? That's a little bit inauthentic. You might want to change it into something else, a song or a poem. So it's a poem.
Yes, but you've memorized it well. It worked.
It worked.
But that brings me to the question, why do you do what you do? Why, even looking at teenagers and supporting teenagers, there has to be a reason that gets you to do that. Instead of, you could just be doing what takes care of you, but you're looking to other people. So what gets you out of bed each morning?
It's my life's purpose. When I'm inspiring and encouraging people, whether it's through something like this, whether it's through a talk in front of teenagers, that just gets me fired up. That gets me excited. That I first discovered it when I did a leadership mastermind with a group of blind people I think they were in 3 different countries. We did it over Zoom. And someone said to me, oh, this has changed my life. I'm going to go off and apply this now. And I ended the Zoom call and started to cry and thought, this is what I'm meant to do. To help people become better versions of themselves and inspire them and encourage them to do that. And yeah, that's what gets me. That's what got me up. I woke up, didn't sleep very well last night. And then I woke up and thought, oh, podcast. Yes. Okay. I have to get up. Yep. It's all good.
And I guess that goes back to the title of your book, isn't it? It's like whether you have sight, whether you can literally see or whether you can't, that's not the point. The point is having that vision to go beyond who you are now and be a better version of yourself and keep up every day becoming a better person. Is that the kind of message that you're wanting to bring?
Yes, completely. And I believe that our life purpose is something that we're born with. It's something, from a Christian perspective, it's a God-given, he's made us for a reason. And, that can be very broad. Like it could be to educate, or it could be to, like mine is to inspire and encourage. And then you have to choose the way you can live that out. I can do that through writing. I can do it through podcasting, through speaking. And I've chosen to do that through speaking. So, and once you discover your purpose and you live it out, then you're the best version of you because you're doing what you were made to do and using your natural gifts that you already have. And so it's not a struggle most of the time. Not as you're doing what comes naturally to you.
Yeah, look, you said you're 48, I'm 46, and I would say, I love doing what I do, and I do what I do because it is my life's purpose. I'm doing exactly what I'm called to do. And when you're in that space, it means so much more than just, I'm going to do a job. I'm actually here for, making people's lives better and doing things that bring dignity and empowerment despite any kind of disability. And it changes everything, I feel. In this cold, wintry morning, why do I get out of bed? It's like, because we're going to change lives today.
Exactly. You've got it. Yep.
Well, do you have any of your greatest achievements, something that you're really proud of that you've been able to do in your career?
The one thing that I'm most proud of is, and it's the signature story in my keynote, is overcoming my phobia. I used to catch buses to and from school, to and from university, and to and from the early years of work. And then we moved across town, and I pretty much said to my employer, I'm not going to spend an hour and a half on a bus each way. And so thankfully I was able to find a group of people who were happy to drive me to and from work because they worked in the same office. And so I didn't catch a bus for about 20 years. And then, didn't think about it, and except for it got to the point where every time a bus would go past, my heart would race and I go, oh, it's okay. It's gone. I don't have to catch it. It's all right. Because I became convinced that if I caught a bus, I would get lost, and that would be an absolute disaster. But when I retrained as a speaker, I was offered a job by Guide Dogs New South Wales ACT as their PR speaker. And they said, oh, look, one of the conditions is that you really need to get to as many engagements as you can by public transport. And
Oh,
I kind of went, oh, no, literally nearly threw up on the interviewer because I was so anxious about that. They said, oh, look, we'll give you all the training and you'll be fine. And I went, look, I can't make this decision now. I'm feeling too sick and anxious. Go away. So they did. But then I'd finished reading a book by John C. Maxwell called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And he was talking about authenticity. And I thought, well, I can't stand up in front of groups of people and go, oh, I'm so independent. I get driven everywhere. So I did 2 weeks of intensive bus training. And now I travel all over Canberra to speak. And I'm even calm enough now to check my email between stops and do a little bit of knitting.
well done.
I'll never sleep on a bus or read a book. I'll never ever be that calm. But, and the next bus announcements, which are audio announcements we have on our buses in Canberra, have been an absolute game changer. I love that.
Oh, great. What other technology do you use to make sure you're on the right bus?
The Move It app, which is an app which works all over Australia for buses and trains, and it's accessible. And you can type in, you can say, okay, I want to go from home to this bus stop and I want to get there at 2 p.m. And it'll say, okay, you need bus route number 4 and you need to catch it from this stop and it leaves at this time. And it gives you 3 warnings when to get off the bus.
Oh, good.
1 stop away, you need to get off now. But because I'm a little bit anxious, I also ask the driver. And ironically, my first job as a PR speaker was to train bus drivers on how to make bus travel more accessible for blind and vision impaired people. So I train my baby bus drivers, as I call them. Now, if someone asks you to get off a particular stop, I say, you write it on your hand or your journal or your lefts and rights or whatever, because we're relying on you.
Mm.
And we teach them how to get off, how to guide someone off the bus if they need to, different, you could tell them where the seat is, you need to announce your bus number and destination when you pull up at a stop and there's someone there with a cane or a guide dog.
And are you using an Apple Watch or something to be that interface with the app, or how are you hearing from the app?
Just my iPhone. You got an AirPod in at the time. So I just, the phone just dings and vibrates and says to me, you've got 2 stops till you need to get off. And it's like, oh. And it also shows the list of stops and the ones I've already stopped at. The ones the bus has already gone past don't have a time next to them, but the ones the bus needs to get to have a time next to them. So that's another way I can just sort of count the stops as they go, and also listen to the next bus announcement, which says the next stop is Westfield. Which is great.
Well, that sounds like a brilliant app to go and explore. Do you have people who have really been role models for you throughout your life, or have you just taken bits and bobs from all different people along the way?
I've taken bits and bobs from all different people. I mean, Jesus obviously is one. The top one, my parents, John Maxwell, I'm a big fan of his. I've actually had the privilege of being in the same room as him multiple times when he's been speaking, as due to my John C. Maxwell certification. Gone to Florida a couple of times, met him. Oh, funny story. You get to have a picture taken with him as part of your conference thing. And you've literally got 7 seconds because there's 2,000 people there, and over 3 days, this 79-year-old man has to have whatever he is now, has to have his picture taken with all these people. So you get in the line, you do your hair, you're all ready to go. You step into shot, they go click, and you step out again. That's it. So it got to my turn, and I held out my hand, expecting someone to pull me into shot, and they didn't. So I stepped forward, and my left arm sort of collected someone's back. He turned to me, hugged me, turned me back again, and then spoke, and I went, oh my gosh, it's you. It was into, and of course I went, oh my gosh, it's you. And then went click. And Mum always says to me when she sees that photo, she said, oh, you look as if you're about to wet your pants. I'd say, yeah, I pretty much was. You don't get to speak to him. oh no, you just step into shot and go click and step out again.
Oh, that's good.
Hug and to speak.
Yes. And how does someone know that you're vision impaired? Like, I know you put your hand out then. Do you have a cane or dog or?
I didn't at that time, no. My cane was folded up in my bag. And because I was in Florida, so my dog was at home. And yeah, so no one knew, but I thought they would have seen me being guided in by someone else holding onto their arm, but they obviously weren't paying attention. But
So is sometimes the cane used not always for your skill as much as for other people to know that you've got a vision impairment?
Absolutely. I mean, if someone has enough sight to get around safely, they'll just carry an ID cane, which is like as thick as a pencil, and you just hold it like a pencil in front of you and like across your body, and that will show people that you're blind. If you've got not enough sight to do that, like me, you'd use a long cane or a guide dog. But yeah, that would also perform an ID purpose as well as a safety purpose.
So I'm guessing you've seen occupational therapists through your life or not? Have you?
I never have. When I was a baby, an OT came into mum's house and told her she had to pull up all the carpets, and she had to remove all the tablecloths. And mum was sort of an older parent. She was like 39 when she had me, and she said, "Oh, rubbish." Woman out. And so yeah, I never had any sort of childhood. I saw physios. I don't know why, but I saw physios, and for a small child, I used to jump on the trampoline and I thought it was good fun. I don't know what the purpose of it was. There must have been some. But no, I've never seen an OT. So I'm quite intrigued now about how they work with small children and what they teach them. And, I didn't use a cane till I was like 11, whereas they're putting canes in the hands of like 5-year-olds now or younger. So yeah, it's really interesting what they're doing now. So,
and I can't speak for peds because I don't really work with children. I work with adults, but there are a lot of adults who lose their sight later in life because of a variety of different conditions. And so that's the space that I might be in. Someone might have had, a stroke or lose their vision from multiple sclerosis and conditions like that, or just aging related changes. And so that's the space that I work in. And so coming along to someone who might have had full vision for, 40, 50 years or something, and then changes happen. And then we come in as therapists to say, how can you still, do your everyday life and live as independently as possible? So in talking to someone like me who might support someone to live their best life, whether it's children or adults or someone who has vision changes, what strategies could you give to us to make sure that we help people to do as much as they can for themselves?
Actually, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I know the answer. Because I sat through a presentation given by an occupational therapist from Guide Dogs New South Wales, ACT, so I actually know the answer now. Well, I guess work out there's a way for a blind person to do everything that a sighted person does, but it may need some adapting. So they may need better lighting, they may need better contrast. It doesn't always have to be high tech either. I mean, it could be something as simple as brightly colored measuring cups or measuring spoons and a high contrast chopping board or something. Teaching them to chop safely by, tucking their fingers underneath and, chopping safely. It could be, using slightly more high tech, using Alexa or a Google speaker to read them out a recipe, or using large print recipe cards. I'm thinking cooking because that's the description she gave. There's services like Be My Eyes and Ira. Be My Eyes is free and Ira is paid, where you actually use your phone to speak to someone who will actually say, yes, the dog's thrown up just in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you've cleaned it all up, or you've got the can upside down, it's actually a can of baked beans. So there's like low tech and high tech. You can use, you can get this high contrast, what is it? It's almost like a glue, but you put it on things and it dries and it's raised up, so you can use it to like write a letter on something, or you can use things like stick on Velcro to identify different things. Yeah, there's also sew buttons, different shaped buttons on clothes to sort of tell which thing goes with what. I actually hang all my clothes in my wardrobe in different spaces. I had my wardrobe renovated, so there's 4 distinct spaces. And so I have all my work stuff, all my work tops up the top and all my work pants down the bottom on the right hand side. So I know that everything in that section goes together. There's guards you can put around the bottom of your iron so you don't burn yourself. Or you can just choose not to iron like me. Yeah, there's so many different low-tech and high-tech ways you can do things, but I guess it's just finding what the person's goals are and then working out together ways that they can be achieved safely.
And look, there are a million different solutions depending on what the problems are, right? And you've just rattled off heaps of them, which is fantastic. But my gut feeling is that what it comes down to is what you said from the start, is courage.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you don't want to learn, people don't learn. And so if people go, I can't do it anymore. Like I often see people who are old and they say, oh, I can't get out of my chair, I'm 80. And it's like, well, no, that's not a good answer. You know, you can be vibrant and vigorous and we'll help you to do what you need to do. But unless you have the courage to push through, then you will become dependent on other people doing things for you.
And you also need family support. I mean, my uncle's going through this very thing. And he, we're trying to get him to do things like stick sticky tape on the start button of the microwave. It can be as simple as that. Or paint white strips on the steps so he doesn't fall down the steps, but his wife is not supportive of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you also need family support, but things, Guide Dogs New South Wales ACT can provide advice on that, and their OTs can talk to you guys, and Vision Australia have them as well. And they can provide solutions and advice. There's websites with all different types of low vision stuff you can get.
Yeah, but you said you had that phobia of catching buses, which you've conquered. But I think it can become quite tempting to just say, oh, I have this issue now, so I'm going to stay at home because it's safer.
Absolutely. And I did that for a good few years. In fact, I got so bad that I wouldn't even catch taxis. I had a taxi drop me off at the wrong house once, and I didn't catch a taxi again for a long, long time. And then I caught a taxi. I sat in the taxi and I said, I'm not leaving until the person comes to get me. And I cried, and the person came and got me, and it was all fine. And the poor driver, so you must have been wondering. But yeah, it does take courage to go, I used to do this way, and now I have to do it that way.
But you've also just described that ebb and flow through your life where you had a season where actually that became hard again, and then you conquered it again. So I'm guessing, just like everything in life, you may have a time when you seemingly conquer some fear, and then something happens, and then you go back into, like any of us can go back inside of our little shell, but we have to maybe draw on those clinicians or other people around and just say, family, I want to be able to do this again. I don't want to, be dependent. Let's give it a try again.
And courage is like a muscle. You can't just build it up. You have to keep it strong. After lockdown, I didn't catch a bus for like 6 months. And that first bus I caught was really hard. I was sweating and I was, super anxious, sitting on the edge of the seat, listening to the thing and looking at the phone all the time, checking the stops. And it's like, it's okay. You did this 6 months ago. It's exactly the same. But yeah, you have to keep your courage strong. You can't just build it up and then not use it.
Yeah. So it is like a muscle, or
it is like a muscle.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Keep it fun.
Yeah.
Those things again and I mean, catching a bus is something I'm just going to have to keep doing for the rest of my life if I want to keep doing it.
Yeah. And so when you're in those places of fear or discouragement or not even knowing where you might be, how do you overcome challenges in those times?
Well, using those 5 things, fixing your eyes on the prize. If I don't catch a bus, then I don't get to speak and I don't get paid and I don't get to live out my life's purpose and encourage people. Overcoming, the thoughts in your head. Oh, all the what ifs. Okay, well, what if I do get lost? Okay, what are the options? I can call someone. I can, call Ira and go, can you tell me where the nearest street site, what street I'm on, or, what bus stop I'm at, or, find options. Connecting with, your conviction. I'm going back to the corporate pillars now. Connecting with your conviction, I really desperately want to be independent. So if I don't do this thing, I won't be independent. So I have to do it. And upgrading your courage every day, which is like just doing small acts, whether it's catching the bus or whether it's making yourself make a cup of tea. Instant kettles are really awesome. You just press the button and they fill the cup to the right level and that's it. You don't.
Yes.
Yeah. And then finally you get to see your success by putting your courage into action. And you look back at the end of the day and go, wow, I did that. I cooked that meal, or I caught that bus, or I cleaned up the spill, or, whatever it is.
Yes.
Got out of the house, did the shopping.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Amanda. It's been such an encouragement for you to be with us. And I hope that the listeners will also hear that as well and take that with us into our everyday life. We all come up with situations that are hard, and there are things that we need to do. And courage is what gets us there. Yes, there's the technology. You've described so many different bits of equipment that might help people, but engaging with the motivation and wanting to do more for yourself is kind of the answer. And so the more that we can help people to grab onto that, I think is the best way that we can help bring dignity and empowerment into people's lives. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about how we can get in touch with you?
It's very easy to remember because my name is Amanda Heal, Heal. My email address is amanda@amandaheal.com.au. My website is amandaheal.com.au. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook as Amanda J. Heal because my middle name's Jane. So Amanda J. Heal on all socials. So just, reach out if you would like a speaker or a corporate speaker or a teenage speaker. If you want to buy my book, that's on my website too. Yeah, but hopefully all of you are living out your life purpose anyway as clinicians. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Amanda. And we'll put your links in the bottom of the show notes as well, so people can always just click on that there. And would love to spread the message far and wide. Yay. About living your best life through courage. Definitely. All right, thank you. And that's been the AT Collective podcast, brought to you by Capable Spaces, and I'm Karen Marr. See you next time.